Welcome to the Frankie Email Marketing Campaign and Responses webinar. This is part 2 of 2 training sessions to get started with Frankie Email Marketing. Part 1 covers how to add contacts and manage them. Part 2 is going to cover how to create campaigns and view the responses. What is Frankie Email Marketing? Frankie Email Marketing is going to be integrated with the Jonas Club Management System so that contacts are updated every 24 hours automatically through an export. Some clubs may have this set up to run sooner, depending on their setup. Using this information from the Jonas Club Management System, personalized emails can be created, and of course, using the segments that were created in the Part 1 training. Today, the agenda, we're going to cover the Home section, create, send, and manage campaigns, and view the responses, which is really the reports. Please write down this website address, clubhouseonline.e2ma.net. The username and password are both case sensitive, and note the system will log you out if there is inactivity for an extended period of time. As soon as you're logged in, you will be brought to the home screen. I'm using this screenshot right now to illustrate what your system will look like if you've never created any campaigns. It won't have much information. A lot of your statistics are going to be zero. Once you start sending out some campaigns, the information would slowly start to populate. What you've got here is some quick statistics. The last 30 days mailing averages. You've got a mailing score, open rate, and click to open rate. Your mailing score, the highest you can get is 10. It is calculated using a bunch of factors such as the open rates, click-through rates, share rates, and opt-out percentages. That's why it was important for us to set up your segments. Because if you had the email going out to thousands of people, knowing quite well that only 500 people really were interested in it, then that will definitely affect your open rate. The goal here is you want to have a higher mailing score. So let's go to our webinar training site. Once you're logged in the top corner, you will see your club name. This is the statistics that I have right now. Down below, you can see this Friday news doesn't have anything because it can take up to 24 hours for the information to be calculated. But individual campaigns, as you see here, will have its own set of statistics, the open, click rates, and number of recipients. If you click on any of these campaigns here, it will take you into the responses area, which is the reporting. You're going to notice there's going to be multiple ways to get into the responses or for anything that we're trying to work on today for that matter. Later, we will talk about responses using the tab up at the very top. You can create a new campaign right from here, but our focus today is going to be using the campaigns tab up at the very top. By default, when you click on campaigns, it will land you on the emails tab on the left. Before you create a campaign, you have the option of uploading any images or files that you want to be included in your email campaigns. So let's go down to images. And if you have any images already uploaded, you will see them listed in here. Otherwise, you can use the upload button and it will go to your computer to find any images that you've already cropped, renamed, resized, and ready to include in an email blast. When you have an image added in here, you do have options to download the picture. You can copy the link and you can delete the image if you no longer want to use it or keep it on file in the email marketing system. If you had any files that you wanted to include in an email blast, you would go to Documents. You're going to be able to upload or use any existing documents that you've already uploaded. We usually suggest it's a PDF because if you're uploading a Word document or something else and the recipient does not have access to that particular program, then they may have trouble viewing the actual file itself. And keep in mind, the files will not be an attachment. You'll be creating a link to them. Your members will click on the link so that they can access the PDF that you've included in the body of the message. Likewise, you do have the option to download, copy a link, or delete. To create a brand new email campaign, click Emails on the left. On the right-hand side, click the Create New Campaign button. Regular emails already selected. Go ahead and create a campaign name. The campaign name is an internal name and is only visible by your staff. Your members will never see this name. Later, you'll be creating a subject line, and that's what they will see in the inbox. Now keep in mind, whatever you create this campaign name does allow you to have duplicate names. So if you named something called Test last week, you'll have another one called Test as well. So maybe you want to go ahead and date it so you can easily find the campaign that you're working on and click Continue. You're currently in the Choose Template screen, and there's different ways for you to get your email campaign started. I'm going to go ahead and start down at the bottom where it says Sample Gallery. In the Sample Gallery area, there's lots of templates for you to browse through to get some inspiration for design ideas. You're more than welcome to go through any of these templates here and choose what you would like. There's different page numbers in here as well, so if you wanted to see what the other set are. Over here, if you're particularly working on a newsletter, now these are newsletter ideas that you can pick and choose from. All you're going to do is hover over it and click on Start here. So those are your sample gallery. In the recent emails back up at the top here, these are emails that you've recently created and actually sent out. Yours is probably going to be empty in the beginning, but once you have sent out a couple of things, if you want to reuse what you already started, you're welcome to click Start here when you hover over the template. My Templates is where you would have created something, say a monthly newsletter, and you've already made it your own. You've put in your logo, you've put in certain text, contact information, and it's not something you need to change up every month. What you can do after you've created your campaign, you can save it as a template. Going forward, you know you can find it from here. Your template design might change. If you don't want to use this template design anymore, hover over and delete it, or you can rename it. And of course, you could start from here. Now, if anybody noticed, there is something at the bottom here that says Editor or Legacy. Any clubs that are brand new, you will only see Editor, but clubs that have been using Frankie email marketing for a while, you used to have a different editor. So anything that was created using that editor, you might see it say Legacy. You can continue using that editor if you wish, or you can just use our new templates and new drag and drop editor instead going forward. Share templates. The website announcement template is beneficial for clubs that have the Clubhouse Online website. I'm going to show you a template. We've already got some text ready for you to introduce the new website to your members. If anybody remembers in the Part 1 training, we talked about these subscriptions. Instead of having your members go to the very bottom to click a Manage Preferences link, we can even have a nice button in the middle of the message telling them to click on it and they can update their subscriptions. In addition to that, we do have the registration and login process spelled out here. So I didn't enable my pictures, so that's why we see the red X's here. So if at any time pictures don't show up, your members can always download the pictures. It makes it easy for you to announce how your members can register the very first time. Now what's important here is we do have merge fields, so that when your members are about to get validated to use the website, they will be able to see the exact information that they have to type in. I highly recommend you redo the mail merge fields, the member number, first name and last name, when you are working off of this template, because how you name your field could be slightly different from how another club is naming it. So I will show you how to update the merge fields today. If you are interested in using the welcome announcement template, it should be in your share templates. If you do not see it, please contact your project coordinator or the web support team, and we can assist you in setting that up. Although we have all these different template ideas, I am going to show you how to create from scratch today, just to show you how easy this drag and drop editor is to create brand new email campaigns. So in the top right-hand corner, we're going to click Start from Scratch. In here, you have a choice. Drag and drop is the one we're going to use today, and it's already selected. If you are comfortable with HTML, select the HTML. But we're going to go ahead and continue. In the top left, you'll see the campaign name we created earlier. If you hover over, you'll see a little pencil. When you click on that, you have the ability to change the campaign name. If you want to make any changes, type it in here and click on Save. I'm going to click Cancel. You can see we've chosen the blank template. Even though it's blank, you can see it's got some ideas for you. So this side here on the left, we're going to call the canvas. On the right-hand side here, I've got a couple of tabs. I've got Content, Rows, and Settings. In the settings area, you have defaults that you can set up for the entire campaign. So for example, if you wanted to change the background color from white, you just go ahead and click on this and choose any color you want. I'm just going to change it back to white. Every time you go to another level, it will override what was on the previous level. In the rows area, did you want to create a campaign with one big column? Did you want 2 columns split evenly? Or did you want as many as 4 columns? All you're going to do is click and drag over to the canvas, which is on the left-hand side. So click and drag. You see it says drag it here. So if I let go now, it's going to be in between these two images. Or maybe I want it under the primary call to action button. And there you've added a row. You see when I hover, it actually says row. When I click on it, I've got a bunch of options still. I can copy the 4-column row. So you can see it's duplicated now. I can use the left-hand side, the directional arrows, to move it. So if I wanted to move it back between those pictures, I can also delete it if I don't actually want the 4-column row after all. Now, if I click back in this 4-column row, I want you to notice on the right it now says Row Properties. If I don't want to see the row properties, I can go ahead and just click on rows at the top, and I can choose maybe a 1-column and click and drag it over. Now, once I've dragged it over, you can actually see it kind of guides you what to do next. It says drop content blocks here. So if I click on the Contents tab, I've got a bunch of blocks that I can click and drag to bring over. I'm going to use a paragraph. So when I click and I drag it into this block, it now says I'm a new paragraph block. And you can see when I highlight it says paragraph. If I scroll down to the next one, it says image. And then if I go back to my 4-column, I'm now in the row. When you click in the paragraph block, you'll see the same copy, move, and delete options available for your individual block. The paragraph block had a content editor toolbar appear. But this may not have everything that you want to do. On the side now, you can also see there's additional content properties that can be adjusted for this particular block. Now, if you want to have a bigger canvas area, what you can do is you can click this little arrow beside the Content tab, and it will hide these content, rows, and settings properties. If you ever want it back, just look for the little arrow in the corner here, and it will expand back the content, rows, or settings. I'm going to get rid of some of these rows so that our canvas isn't as busy. I'm just going to hover and click on this row here and delete. Don't need our for column. I'm just going to get rid of that. I'm going to relabel these columns so you can clearly see that this is column 1 and this one is column 2. The reason why I did this is because I want to show you up at the top, we are currently in the desktop view. If you switch to the mobile view, a reminder, all the templates that you choose in this email marketing system will be responsive. So if anything is in more than one column on a mobile device, it will be stacked with column 1 at the top and column 2 underneath. It is no longer showing in 2 columns. You can click back to the desktop view and continue with your editing. On the bottom left-hand corner, we do have your redo and undo buttons. So if you wanted to change anything, I change that text back so it doesn't say column 2 anymore. I can change it back, or you even have a little clock icon here that will show you your history. So if you want to go back to a specific timestamp, you can always change it and restore it to that timestamp as well. If you no longer want this history to be displayed, simply click on the clock icon and it will no longer be covering your canvas. We're going back to the paragraph block and we're going to start typing in some text. Dear members. Often you might have text already drafted up in another source. For example, I have it written up in a Word document already. Why not save time by copying and pasting the text? So I'm just going to do a Control-C here, come back into my program in the paragraph block, and just going to do a good old Control-V. Now notice it didn't quite pick up everything. So what I mean by that is if I minimize this a little bit so we can see it side by side, you can see I had some blue. I had a font here that is quite different from my Please Join Us This Friday. Colors didn't always come over, and I highly recommend you do your hyperlinks over again in the email marketing program just in case it didn't get linked properly during the copy and paste. Let's come back over to the canvas. Dear members is repeated right now, so I'm just going to get rid of that. And if I wanted to change something to a different color, remember you just highlight the text and your toolbar is down at the bottom. And just click on the A with the underline, click on the painter's palette, and now you can choose whatever color you want for the text that is highlighted to be changed to. If you wanted to personalize your email campaign instead of just saying Dear members, let's delete that. Put your cursor in place and you're looking for the Personalize button in the toolbar. When you hit Personalize, it will list the fields that you have brought over from your accounting system. Chances are you want to put in the member's first name, so this is alphabetical. You select the first name, but I do want you to put a default value. If for any reason your Jonas system does not have anything populated in the first name field, it will be able to put in a default value. Instead of just dear blank, it will now say, for example, dear member. Go ahead and add the field. It's added some code in between these square brackets. Remember though, after the square brackets, put in a comma. Maybe you wanted to use their title and the last name. So what you can do is you can delete the code that we had just added and do the steps again. You're going to go to Personalize. This time we're going to look for the title, or that's what it's called in our database at least. So let's go for title. If they didn't have the title in place, Mr. or Ms. could be a good default value. Add the field. You don't want the title and the last name to be slurred together. So make sure you put a space and hit Personalize one more time. This time we are looking for the last name. Now I'm going to do something on purpose here. I'm not going to put in a default value. Maybe you're in a hurry and you forget to do it. And see in the quotes, this is where the default value would have appeared, because you can see in between the quotes, Mr. and Ms. has shown up. Now, what's important of putting in the default value is when you click Send Test in the top corner here, you can see there's a proofing alert. It's basically saying there is a missing default in the last name personalization. I would highly recommend that you make your edits instead of ignoring it and continuing. So let's go back and make your edit. And let's put in member, because if it were to say, Dear Mr. Ms. Member, it's better than saying, Dear Mr. Blank. And remember to put your comma after you've got the code in place. That's how you can personalize your emails. Remember in the welcome announcement, we said that there's going to be placeholders already when you're putting in the member number, first name and last name. Look for those square brackets. I want you to delete them and reselect in the dropdown your fields for the member number, first name and last name, just so it pulls correctly from your database. Hyperlinks is our next topic. Typically, you might have a link from the email campaign to go back to your club's website. So in here, you would have typed your club's name. We did copy and paste this link over. If you can kind of see down at the bottom in our editor, Insert Link is already selected. That means it is actually linked. So if you want to double check if it's linking to the right spot, go ahead and click on the chain link icon. You can see the link type is URL, and this is where it's going to be redirected to. You can type in your website address, or you can just go to another browser, find the page you actually want, and copy and paste it into this field. Text to display is what I had underlined. It was www.club. If you wanted to, you can change the text to say new club website. That will be underlined instead. Title is optional. If you used other programs before, it's what we call a tooltip. Maybe it was an event that you wanted them to join now. Type in join now just to entice them to click on that link. Target new window is usually set up already, so I would leave that. And you're going to go ahead and hit OK. You can see what is highlighted has changed. When I hover over, there's my title or tooltip telling me to join now. If I really don't want the join now, highlight the text and go back into that chain link, take out the title and click OK. Remember earlier in the settings, we can set some defaults. We had set the link colors to be black. But if I go to the Content tab and click back on the paragraph, you can see the content properties is telling me my link color is the shade of blue. What if I didn't want the shade of blue for the website address for the club? You can highlight, you can use this A with the underline, and you can change it. There are different areas where you can override the colors. Another common link that clubs usually like to incorporate in their email blast is maybe an email link. If anybody has questions for a special event, you can have it already linked, ready to go to communicate with that individual. My email link is going to info@club.com. Just highlight that, click on the chain link, insert edit link. You can see in the link type, email is already selected. Type in the email address so that if I clicked on that link, who's going to be pre-populated in the to field. Do you want the link to be underlined? If you don't, you can actually remove the underline. Subject, do you want to pre-populate the subject line so your members don't have to think of a subject line on their own? February email blast inquiry. If there's anything else you wanted to pre-populate in the message area, you can do so as well. Text to display and title and target is the same as when we did this in the URL. So you can leave those if no changes need to be made. We now have our email link. If you don't like this color, highlight, choose your painter's palette. Maybe you want a different shade of blue. Some clubs have weekly or monthly dining menus that they draft up already in a PDF, and they want to include it to send to their members. Create a menu link. This time around, because we haven't created the link yet, notice when I highlight it, your icon doesn't seem like it's already been clicked on. Click on the Insert Edit link. We're going to use a file manager. Earlier, we had shown you the documents area. So if you already have your dining menu uploaded, you can go ahead and select it. If it's still sitting on your computer, click the upload button and find the document, and it will be added into this document section. I'm going to click select for the dining menu. It's going to add a long URL in the front. So you really don't have to be concerned about this. This is basically your online storage for your file. You're really looking at the last part is if you selected the correct file name. Do you want an underlined link? Maybe I don't want it underlined for the dining menu, and hit OK. If you've linked something and you no longer want it hyperlinked, highlight it, and you can click on the Remove Link button. Although we have the option to change the colors or even remove the underline for these hyperlinks, a lot of times people could still miss clicking on these links. Clubs like using a button. Let's click on the Content tab at the very top right. In the Content tab, we're going to click and drag the button onto the canvas. Select the button and type to relabel it, Manage Preferences. Instead of your members having to scroll down to the very bottom of the campaign and click on Manage or Opt Out, if you're doing the subscriptions, you can have a nice button in the body of the email called Manage Preferences. On the right-hand side, you can see your link options. You can go to a web page, go ahead and type it in here. If you wanted to have an email like the info we did earlier, you can say info@club.com, subject line and body of the message. Let me change it back to open web page. To link a file, you can choose a dining menu right from here. If you wanted to use the Manage Preferences, what I have is a special code that you're going to put in place. So it doesn't matter which club you belong to. This is the code that you're going to put in this URL box. It's square bracket %, space manage, underscore, URL, space %, close the square bracket. Once you put this in place, when they click on that Manage Preference button, or it could have been a text link, it will take them to that Manage Preferences form to choose the subscriptions or unsubscribe. There's many options within the button content properties. I'm not going to go through every one, but here's a few that might be of interest to you. The auto width. If you don't want to use auto width, you can go ahead and click on it because now you've got a slider to adjust the size of that button. I'm going to change it back to auto width. You can change the font, the size, the background color, the text color. And the last one I want to show you is the border radius. If you wanted a rectangular button, you'll leave the radius at 1. As you increase the border radius, you can see my button rounding out now. Many options to edit your button, which will be a call to action. Let's add a logo to your campaign. Click on the Content tab and select the image block. Click and drag to the very top of your campaign because I want to start off my campaign with my logo. As long as you see the drag it here bar across the top, that's where you know where your block is going to be added in. You can see the instructions. Drag your file here by clicking Browse, or you can click right into the block. And on the right-hand side, you also see the Choose Image option in the content properties. When you choose your image, remember that image storage area we saw earlier will list all the images that you've already uploaded. If it's still sitting on your computer, then click on the Upload button. I'm going to choose this logo here by clicking on Select, and there's your image. Once your image is added in, you do also have the auto width. So once you do that, remember your slider is enabled, so you can adjust the size. You can also change the image or apply effects. If you forgot to edit, crop, rename, or resize your image before you upload into the email marketing system, click on Apply Effects. There's a couple of options in here. I'm not going to do every single one, but just to give you an idea, you can use Filter if you wanted to make your image black and white. If you don't want this one, go ahead and close it. Maybe you wanted to overlay some text on top of your image. So what you can do is just add text. You can change your color, your font. If you really didn't want this, you can delete that out. I'm going to cancel one more time. Or you can add a sticker or frame. So lots of choices in here. If you hit save, it will save a separate copy. It doesn't overwrite your original image that was uploaded into the email marketing system. I'm going to cancel altogether without making any changes to our logo. We highly recommend alternate text is added for every image included in an email campaign. Alternate text is used to describe what is in the image. If for any reason your recipients have turned off images in their email box, then they will not be able to see the image at all. But at least with alternate text, it will describe what they are missing out on. It is also helpful for recipients that are using speech readers. It would read out loud the alternative text. Club logo with blue house will be our alternative text today. If you want, you can create an image link. Similar to what we saw on the button, with open web page, you can type in your website address in the URL field. You can send to email. But this time, if you want to link the file, it's only going to link to an image. So if you wanted a bigger version of the image or something that is in a picture, then we can link it. But if you really wanted to link back to that dining menu, here's how you grab the PDF link. In another tab, in the campaign section, under Documents, make your way to the PDF you want to use, or dining menu. Click on the drop-down, Copy Link. Once you've copied the link, come back to your campaign. You're actually going to close out of these images because it wasn't the image you wanted to link the file to. We're actually going to just paste it into this URL with Open Web Page selected. Remember, what you're really concerned about is the name of the file. The front part is the online storage area of where that image is saved. So just make sure you've got the right dining menu and you're good to go. The last property I want to show you is Hide On at the very bottom. This is actually available on all the content blocks that we've shown you today, the paragraph, the button, and even the image. The Hide On option allows you to decide whether this image should be visible when the email is opened on a desktop or on a mobile. If I were to click on desktop, you can see it's kind of gotten blurry. So that means if somebody opened this email on a desktop, the image will be hidden. Click on the X so it is visible on both platforms, or you can click so that's hidden on mobile. If you switch to mobile view in the top left, you can see it's now blurry in the mobile view. You can see visibility on, hidden elements are visible. Click the X so that we have the image available on both desktop and mobile. All the blocks that we had, let's go back to desktop view, have this option. So if I went back into our paragraph block and scroll down to the bottom, I have the Hide On desktop and mobile. Even if I go on down to my button, you'll be able to see the Hide On option. On the canvas, let's look at the rest of the campaign. If you don't need any of the items, then click on it and delete the individual items that are no longer needed. If you deleted something by mistake, just go ahead and use that undo button. Remember, if you don't want the entire row, you can select it and hit delete. Notice when I make my way down to the footer and try to click on something, the row is locked. So I cannot change the manage preferences, opt out, or any of these options here, like the sign up or the view the email online. They will always be at the bottom in the footer. It will include your club contact information and the recipient email when this campaign goes out. And we cannot change any of these blocks down at the bottom. Up at the content tab, we're not going to cover all of the content blocks, but you are more than welcome to click and drag any of these and incorporate into your email campaign. Something I didn't mention earlier is you can't actually test your hyperlinks when you're in this edit mode. You do need to go to preview mode up at the very top. When you're in preview mode, it gets rid of all those little blocks. And what you can do now is click on the link to make sure if it is going to the right page. The club.com is a fake address, so obviously it's not really going anywhere. Probably want to go back and relink that. Email link, info@club.com. If you have some sort of an email program, what will happen is the email address is populated in the to field, and the subject line that we typed up earlier will also be populated. Dining menu, let's see if this is the right one. If it's good, you can go ahead and click the X to close it out. You're just checking spelling, pictures, does everything look good? You can also switch over to the mobile view on the top right. If you have anything in columns, it will be stacked on top of each other. When you're done with the preview mode and testing all your links, go ahead and click the X to close it out. I should change this link. I'm going to highlight it, click on the chain link to edit. Let's just link it to our Frankie help site. Good old copy and paste. And now what you're going to be able to do is save and close, save and copy, or even save it as a template. Because now that you've got your logo and your contact information in place, instead of having to add those every single month, you can choose it from your My Templates in the future when you start a new campaign. I'm just going to do a quick save. There are no errors, so that's what we're aiming for. It's a good idea to send a test to yourself so you can truly see what it will look like in your inbox. Although we did the preview earlier, send test just allows you to see it in your inbox. Type the email address of the recipients to get the test email. Note is optional. If there's any special instructions, you can type it in the notes box. From name, you can change it to your own name or the club name. Who's it coming from? You can type in the email address. Subject line, the word test is going to be added automatically. So all I really have to do is say February email blast. Go ahead and send your test. Here's the test email showing up in my inbox. The word test is in brackets in the subject line. I have images turned off, so that's why I have the red X instead of the image of the logo. If I zoom in, still hard to see, but now it says club logo with blue house. So there's the alternative text that will show up anytime your images do not show up automatically on the recipient side. I did not have title filled in, so that's why I put in the placeholder, but I did have a last name field. You can go ahead and test all your hyperlinks. Let's see if this actually goes to the Frankie help site right now, because remember we changed the link up. That looks good. And of course, you can just review anything else in this account. So if I want to test my managed preferences, is that going to the right spot? There it is. There's my subscriptions. I can change my mind, or I can unsubscribe from everything coming from the club. I'm not going to update my preferences at this point. I'm just going to close out these tabs. Now that I got the send test, I think I am ready to hit review. This is where you choose your recipients, your subject line, and when do you want to send it out. Just going to zoom in a little bit here. Remember, there's 3 ways to type in your recipients. 1, start typing the recipient email address. I don't recommend this because it could have data entry errors. 2, click on the person icon and select your groups. Let's choose some of the ones we created. 3, you can choose a segment. So you can choose any segment that you want. Choose from subscriptions if you have that set up at your club. Truthfully, for your subscriptions, I would add an extra level in the segment. So maybe only wanting people of a certain status that have also selected the subscription. But it's up to you how you want to use this. And the system is actually smart enough. If I belong to more than one of these selections, I will only get the email once. There is one other option that's kind of neat, which is exclude. Although I selected these 4 things, if there's a segment that I've created that I want to exclude, maybe the newsletter subscription here, then anyone that's in here, it's basically saying take out this segment if there's a match. So then there's less people receiving this campaign. I actually don't want it to go out to all of them. I'm going to go backwards and make this none. I'm going to put my cursor in this box and backspace to get rid of all my recipients. Instead, I'm going to hit the person icon, and in my group, I'm going to choose my trainers. Subject line, it picked up the subject line I had typed when we did our send test. If you want to change this up, maybe you want to say your club name, February email blast, you can change it right here. The sender name is usually defaulted. You can include the club name or a person's name. Sender email is usually defaulted, but what you want to do is decide if it's coming from events@club.com, do you want it to go to the same person if somebody were to reply to the campaign? If you don't want it to go to the same person, you can check this box here, set a separate reply to email address, and maybe it should be sent to myself. Last thing to decide is when are you sending the email out? Are you going to send it right now? Please be sure you have double-checked your campaign, your images, your links, everything is correct, because once you hit send now, it's going to go to all the recipients that were selected at the top of this page. If you are scheduling it to go out later this week, you can choose schedule for later. Click into the calendar and decide when is it going out and at what time. Since it's future dated, do you or someone at the club need to be email notified when it goes out on the 20th at 10 a.m.? If it's not necessary to notify them, you can leave this box empty. When you schedule it, the time is based on your club. So I'm in the Eastern time zone. So it'll be 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time that the email is going to go out. You can go ahead and schedule it. But I want to show you how the campaign actually goes out. So we're going to cancel. On the left-hand side, you've got a little snapshot of what the campaign looks like. If you do need to make any changes, you can see at the very top, there's a back to editor button. If you're not ready to send, you can go ahead and click save or save and close so that you can work on this another day. I double checked my recipients. I'm going down to the bottom. I'm going to send right now. It does say that the test February will be sent within about 30 minutes. So what that means is it is quite possible that some members could get the email sooner than some of your other recipients. You can view response for this mailing. And remember, we mentioned already there are numerous ways to view your responses. In other words, your reports in this email marketing system. Before we go to the reports, we're going to go back into the campaigns at the top here to show you how you can manage your campaigns. We're currently in the email section, and there's a couple of tabs: drafts, scheduled, sent, automated, and shared. By default, it will land in the drafts area. There is a search bar. If you knew the internal campaign name, you can go ahead and type and search for it. It's currently sorted by last updated date, so the newest campaigns you've been working on will be at the top of the list. You can click on the email name, and then it can sort by the email name. If you check the box beside the campaign name, the archive button appears. If you click on the drop down for the arrows, edit allows you to continue to make changes. You can duplicate it, or you can archive it if you no longer need the campaign. Scheduled will show you any campaigns that have been future dated. So you can see I have the Friday news ready to go to be sent on February 23rd at 10 a.m. If you click on the email name, it doesn't do anything. However, if you click on the drop down here, you have a couple extra options. You've got the show details, which tells you the campaign name, the subject line your recipients will see, the date and time it's going to go out, and your recipients. If you need to make any changes to these items, you actually can't do it within this scheduled tab. Let me finish off with these items here, and I'll show you where you can actually edit those features. You can preview. If you forgot what the campaign looks like, click on the preview button, look at your campaign and see if it is actually ready to go. When you're done, hit the left arrow to go back, choose the scheduled tab, and then you can duplicate or you can cancel the send altogether. If you want, you can cancel the send and then go into the campaign and change either the subject line, date and time, recipients, or you can go to the Home tab. So if you go to the Home tab, there's a calendar on the left-hand side. Today is the 16th. If you see any dots, that means that something has been sent out. You can click on the view response. Remember that test we did earlier? You can even see it here, and view response will take you to the reporting. Any dates that have the dots were other dates that we had sent out campaigns. And then you can see on the 23rd is the one in the future. So instead of view response, it actually says edit or cancel. So if you did want to edit any of these fields here, the from name, the from email, the subject line, or simply the date and time, then you can go ahead and make those adjustments. So maybe I wanted this to go out on Saturday instead at 10 a.m. And you can simply go ahead and save it. You can see the dots already moved over on my calendar. So it's now on the 24th. If I go back into the campaign section and click on scheduled, it has already changed to the 24th as well. Sent, any campaigns that have been sent will be listed in this table, including any test that you have sent out. So there's the test email we sent out earlier. You can check on the box. If you don't need it, you can archive it. And you can duplicate, view the responses, or you can even archive through here. Let's go ahead and view the response. And at this point, it actually takes us to the response tab up across the top. Could take up to 24 hours for the information to populate in this section, but I just wanted to quickly show you how you can access the response. In the top right, there's a Save as PDF button. Click on the arrow and choose Save Web View as PDF. What this does is allows you to have a version of your email saved as a PDF. Now you can have maybe a printed copy at the clubhouse, or maybe take this link and include it somewhere on your website. Click Response at the top, and now you can see a table with all the sent campaigns in the past. Test ones can also be found separately in the Test tab. If you go to Sent, click on the name of the campaign to see details. By default, it will land on the Overview tab with your mailing score and other statistics. Most clubs are usually interested in whether or not people are opening their campaign. So if you go to the Open tab, you can see the individuals that have opened the campaign and when. If I go back to Overview, scroll down to see if recipients are opening on a desktop computer or a mobile device. You scroll down, the click map that we're looking at here allows you to see whether your members are clicking on image links, text links, or buttons as a call to action. Hover over the green circles and you can see how many people had actually clicked on specific links. To see details, visit the Clicks tab. Using the filter, you can select the link, for example, the dining menu, and see that there is 8 total clicks and 4 unique clicks. The difference is unique clicks is the individual, and total clicks is how many times it was clicked on. So you can see the number of people in here, and some individuals had actually clicked on it 3 times. 1 on the 5th, 1 on the 1st, and a different time on the 1st. If you're not the statistics person, you can always click on the Export Responses. You can choose to export just the click report or everything, and click on the export option. You can go to the link right away, or remember, you can click on your name in the top right-hand corner and then click Exports in the drop-down later to see the information. At the top, click on Insights. Response lets you see information for a particular campaign. Insights allows you to see information for all of your campaigns combined. There's a lot of details in here. I'm not going to go through every option, but what I wanted to share with you is, if I just change this date here, if you scroll on down within the Engagement tab, we now have an engagement heat map. The engagement heat map allows you to see when the recipients open or click on your campaigns. It is helpful in scheduling future campaigns to the optimal dates and times that your members view your campaigns. So on the left, you see the 7 days of the week. At the bottom, you see the 24 hours in a day. And on the right, you can see the number of recipients. Since we don't send out a lot of campaigns, you can see our numbers are really low. But if we're looking at this graph, it's telling me that Friday at 10 a.m. is probably the most optimal time, because that's where we had the most people open campaigns. The last thing we're going to look at is the exports. So if you click on your name and go to the exports, this is where we'll be able to see the report that we had generated earlier. So by default, it lands on the Contacts tab. We're going to go to the Mailing Response, and there's the February 1st newsletter report that we had run. Remember, if you clicked in here right away, you may not see a green check mark under the status column. It might have been a clock. So that means it's still processing. So once you see the green check mark, you can click on the name of the campaign, or you can use the arrow and select Download this report. At this point, it will process the report as a zip file. You just got to open it up, and then it will be in a spreadsheet for you to analyze the data. This concludes the Part 2 webinar for Frankie email marketing. As a recap, you should now be able to understand information on the Home section, create, send, and manage your campaigns, view responses or even insights as part of your reports. If you ever need any additional information, please jot down this Frankie email marketing help site, frankie.clubhouseonline-e3.net. And if you have any questions, our web support team will be more than happy to assist you via email or phone. Thank you for attending Part 2 of the Frankie email marketing campaign and responses webinar.